quiet streets of Maple Grove seemed to breathe a sigh of relief as another academic year came to an end. Our little rental house, nestled between ancient oaks and well-manicured lawns, buzzed with the kind of energy only freedom brings. Megan, Sophia, and I had just finished our last final exam, officially concluding our college careers. "Oh my God, I cannot believe we are actually done," Sophia exclaimed, her French accent becoming more pronounced, as it often did when she was excited. She flopped onto our worn leather couch, her dark curls bouncing with the movement. I grinned, still riding the high of turning in my last paper. I know, right, 4 years of blood, sweat, and tears. And now we're free women. Megan emerged from the kitchen, arms laden with bottles. And you know what that means? Ladies, we celebrate. We cheered, clinking our bottles together in a toast to our success. As the night wore on, our laughter grew louder, our stories more animated. It felt like we were standing on the precipice of something grand. The whole world stretched out before us. Okay, I said, wiping tears of laughter from my eyes after Sophia's impression of our ancient history professor. I don't know about you guys, but I'm starving. Should we order something? Ooh, yes, Megan perked up. I've been craving that new Thai place. What's it called? Spice Palace. Sophia nodded enthusiastically. Absolutely. Zīr Pad Thai is to die for. I pulled out my phone, navigating to our favorite delivery app. As I scrolled through the menu, my stomach growled in anticipation. We huddled around the screen, debating appetizers and main courses with the seriousness of scholars discussing ancient texts. Finally, our order was placed. The app cheerfully informed us that our food would arrive in about 45 minutes. We settled back, content in the knowledge that delicious food was on its way. "So," Megan said, a mischievous glint in her eye, "now that we're officially done with college, who's excited for the real world?" Sophia groaned dramatically. "Do not remind me. I still have no idea what I am doing with my life." I was about to chime in when my phone buzzed. Glancing down, I saw a notification from the delivery app. "Oh, looks like our food is on its way," I announced. But as I opened the message, a chill ran down my spine. Instead of the usual automated update, there was a personal message from our driver. "Can't wait to meet you, lovely ladies. See you soon." I frowned, showing the screen to Megan and Sophia. Is it just me, or is this kind of creepy? Sophia peered at the message. "That is strange. Maybe he is just being friendly." Megan shrugged, but I noticed a flicker of unease in her eyes. "Yeah, probably nothing to worry about. Some people are just overly familiar, you know." I nodded, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling. We returned to our conversation, but I couldn't help glancing at my phone every few minutes. The cheerful atmosphere from earlier had dimmed slightly, replaced by a subtle tension we all felt, but didn't acknowledge. About 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. We all jumped, then laughed nervously at our reaction. "I'll get it," I said, standing up. As I approached the door, I heard Megan call out, "Be careful." I rolled my eyes, but my heart was beating a little faster than normal. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. The man standing on our porch was unremarkable, average height, average build, with short brown hair and a forgettable face. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Evening. Ladies," he said, his voice oddly smooth. "I've got your order right here." I forced a smile. "Thanks," I said, reaching for the bags. As I took them, his fingers brushed against mine. They were ice cold. "Enjoy your meal," he said, his eyes roving past me into the house. "I hope we'll see each other again soon." Before I could respond, he turned and walked back to his car. I quickly shut the door, letting out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "Everything okay?" Sophia called from the living room. "Yeah," I replied, my voice a little shaky. "Just a weird vibe, I guess." I brought the food into the living room, and we tried to recapture our celebratory mood. The food was delicious, but I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over me. As we were finishing up, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the delivery app. "Hope you enjoyed the food. You girls sure look like you're having fun in there. I almost dropped my phone. Guys, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Look at this. Megan read the message, her face paling. What the fuck? How does he know we're having fun? Can he see us? Sophia jumped up, rushing to the windows to check the curtains. They are all closed, she reported, her accent thickening with stress. He cannot see us. I refreshed the app, hoping it was just a glitch, but there was another message waiting. Don't bother checking the windows. I don't need to see you to know what you're doing. I'll always know. We huddled together on the couch, all pretense of celebration forgotten. Our phones lay silent on the coffee table, but they seemed to loom over us, harbingers of messages we were too afraid to read. What do we do? Megan whispered, her voice trembling. I shook my head, at a loss. What had started as a night of triumph had twisted into something dark and terrifying. And I had a sinking feeling that this was only the beginning. As if in response to my thoughts, all three of our phones buzzed simultaneously. We looked at each other, fear mirrored in each of our eyes. Slowly, I reached out and turned my phone over. The message glowed on the screen, 5 words that made my blood run cold. Let's play a game, shall we? The words on the screen seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. What kind of sick game did this guy have in mind? We should call the police, Sophia said, her voice quivering. She reached for her phone, but before her fingers could touch it, all our devices buzzed again. I wouldn't do that if I were you. The police can't help you now. Besides, that would ruin our fun. Megan let out a choked sob. How is he doing this? It's impossible. I tried to think rationally, despite the fear clouding my mind. He must have hacked our phones somehow. Or maybe he's got access to the delivery app's data. Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging us into momentary darkness. When they came back on, Sophia was pale as a sheet. How did he do that? It's like he's everywhere. As if in response, another message appeared. I have my ways. Now, shall we begin our game? My hands shook as I typed a reply. What do you want from us? The response was almost immediate to play. Of course, here are the rules. I'll give you a series of tasks. Complete them. And you live, fail, and, well, let's just say you won't like the consequences. Your first task, bring me a gift. You have 1 hour. The clock starts now. This is insane, Megan hissed. We can't actually do what he says. Can we? Before I could respond, we heard a loud thump from upstairs. We all frowned, staring at each other in horror. Did you hear that? Sophia whispered. I nodded, my heart pounding. Maybe it's just the house settling. Another thump, followed by the distinct sound of footsteps. Oh God, Megan whimpered. He's in the house. We huddled closer together on the couch, paralyzed with fear. The footsteps seemed to move from room to room upstairs, occasionally pausing as if searching for something.
We need to get out of here,
Sophia said, her accent thicker than ever. I nodded, trying to think through the panic. Okay, let's make a run for it. On 3, we dashed for the front door. 1, 2. Before I could say 3, all our phones buzzed again. The message made my blood run cold. Leaving so soon, but I haven't found my gift yet. The footsteps upstairs suddenly stopped. Then, slowly, we heard them approaching the stairs. Quick, the kitchen, I hissed. We scrambled off the couch and into the kitchen, frantically looking for anything we could use as a weapon. As I pulled open a drawer, grabbing a large knife, Megan gasped. My phone, it's gone. A chill ran down my spine. How had he managed to take it without us noticing? Just then, Sophia's phone chimed with a text, her hands trembling. She opened the message. It was from Megan's number. I'm upstairs. Help me. He's coming. We all stared at the phone in disbelief. Megan was right next to us, her face as white as a sheet. It's a trick, I whispered. He's trying to lure us upstairs. The lights flickered again, and in that brief moment of darkness, we heard the stairs creak. He was coming down. The back door, Sophia mouthed, pointing. Clutching our makeshift weapons, we crept towards the back of the house. Every shadow seemed to move. Every creak of the old house sounded like footsteps. Just as we reached the door, All our phones buzzed simultaneously. You can run, but you can't hide. I'll always find you, always. With shaking hands, I unlocked the back door. We burst out into the cool night air, not daring to look back as we ran into the darkness of our backyard. As we reached the fence, I realized with growing horror that this was only the beginning of our nightmare. We were out of the house, but we were far from safe, and our tormentor was still out there, always one step ahead. Our feet pounded against the damp grass as we ran, the cool night air burning in our lungs. The shadows of the trees seemed to reach out for us, every rustle of leaves sounding like footsteps in pursuit. Megan and I vaulted over the back fence, landing hard on the other side. "Come on," I gasped, grabbing Megan's arm. We sprinted down the alley behind our house, not daring to look back. It wasn't until we reached the end of the block that I realized something was terribly wrong. The pounding of feet behind us had faded to just 2 sets, mine and Megan's. "Wait," I panted, skidding to a stop. "Where's Sophia?" Megan's eyes widened in horror. We both turned back towards our house, straining to see through the darkness. That's when we heard it, a blood-curdling scream that could only belong to Sophia. "No," Megan cried, already moving back the way we came. As we approached our house, my heart nearly stopped. There, illuminated by the porch light, stood our tormentor. And in front of him, a knife pressed against her throat, was Sophia. "Help me!" Sophia's terrified voice carried to us, her French accent thicker than ever in her panic. The man's eyes gleamed in the dim light, a twisted smile playing on his lips. "Welcome back, ladies. I knew you wouldn't abandon your friend." Suddenly, every light in the house and on the porch went out, plunging us into total darkness. Sophia let out another piercing scream, abruptly cut short. "Sophia," I yelled, my voice cracking with fear. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, Megan's phone buzzed in her pocket. With trembling hands, she pulled it out and read the message aloud. "If you want to see your friend alive again, come inside. Let's finish our game." I felt sick to my stomach. "We can't just leave her," I whispered. Megan nodded, her face pale but determined. "We have to go back in." Slowly, we crept towards the house. The front door stood slightly ajar, a silent invitation into our own personal hell. As we crossed the threshold, the floorboards creaked beneath our feet, announcing our presence to whatever horror awaited us inside. The house was pitch black and eerily quiet. We fumbled our way through the familiar space, now made strange and threatening by the darkness and our fear. "Sophia," I called out softly, my voice barely above a whisper. No response. We made our way to the living room, our eyes slowly adjusting to the darkness. The faint moonlight filtering through the curtains cast long, distorted shadows across the floor. Suddenly, Megan grabbed my arm. "Look," she hissed, pointing to the coffee table. There, illuminated by the glow of its screen, Saturday Sophia's phone. A video was playing on loop, footage from earlier that evening, showing the three of us laughing and celebrating. Our own faces stared back at us, frozen in a moment of joy that now felt like it belonged to another lifetime. A new message popped up on the screen. "Such happy memories. Shame they have to end." The lights flickered back to life, momentarily blinding us. As my vision cleared, I saw something that made my blood run cold. On the wall, written in what looked horribly like blood, were the words "Third floor, me Ala Northeast." Megan and I exchanged a terrified glance. We both knew our house didn't have a third floor. Another message appeared on Sophia's phone. "Tick-tock. Ladies, your friend doesn't have much time." "What do we do?" Megan whispered, her voice trembling. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. "We have to find her. Whatever sick game this guy is playing, we can't let Sophia pay the price." Megan nodded, her face set with grim determination. "Together." I grabbed her hand, squeezing it tightly. Together. As we started towards the stairs, the house seemed to groan around us. Each step felt like it might be our last, the darkness ahead promising nothing but more terror. Our hearts pounded in our ears as we climbed the stairs, each creak of the old wood sending a jolt of fear through us. As we reached the second floor landing, we hesitated. There was no third floor, but there was an attic. Could that be what he meant? Suddenly, A loud thump came from above. We both looked up, frouncing in terror. Then, before either of us could react, something fell from the attic opening. Something heavy, something human. Sophia's lifeless body hit the floor with a sickening thud. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I could only stare at the broken form of my friend, her eyes open and glassy, staring at nothing. No. Megan whimpered beside me. No. 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 Our phones buzzed simultaneously. With shaking hands, I pulled mine out. The message played automatically. In Sophia's voice, "You broke the rules, so there were consequences. Who will be next? I wonder." I felt like I was going to be sick. How was this possible? Sophia was dead, right in front of us. How could we be hearing her voice? Suddenly, another sound cut through the silence. A voice, tinny and distant, coming from Megan's pocket. 911. What's your emergency? I turned to Megan, realization dawning. She looked back at me, her eyes wide with fear and guilt. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. Before I could respond, our phones buzzed again. This time, the message was in the stalker's voice. "Naughty girls. I told you not to call for help. Now you'll both pay." The house fell into an eerie silence. We stood there, paralyzed by fear and grief. For what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. The stalker was nowhere to be seen or heard, which somehow made it even more terrifying. "We need to get out of here," I finally whispered, my voice hoarse. "We can't stay here with Sophia." I couldn't bring myself to say Sophia's body. Megan nodded, tears streaming down her face. We carefully made our way downstairs, every shadow making us jump, every creak of the floorboards sending our hearts racing. We huddled in the living room, away from windows, constantly checking our phones for any messages from our tormentor, but there was nothing. The silence was oppressive, suffocating. "Do you think he's gone?" Megan asked after what must have been an hour. I shook my head. "I don't know, but we can't stay here forever. We need to make a run for it." Just as we were gathering our courage to leave, we heard it. The distant wail of a siren. Relief flooded through me. The police were coming. We were saved. "Come on," I said, grabbing Megan's arm. "Let's go meet them." We ran to the front door, hope giving us a second wind, but as we burst onto the porch, that hope turned to ash in my mouth. There was indeed a car with sirens approaching, but it wasn't a police cruiser. It was an ordinary car with a siren light stuck to the roof, and as it pulled up, I saw a face that made my blood run cold. It was him, our tormentor. He had been waiting, biding his time, setting up this final, cruel trick. "Run," I screamed, turning back towards the house. But Megan hesitated for a split second too long. The crack of a gunshot split the air. Megan cried out, stumbling forward before collapsing on the porch steps. Pain exploded in my leg as another shot rang out. I fell, my leg giving way beneath me, but adrenaline and terror propelled me forward, limping badly. I managed to drag myself back into the house, slamming the door behind me. I could hear him outside, his footsteps slow and deliberate. He was in no hurry. He knew he had me trapped. Choking back sobs of pain and fear, I limped through the house, desperately searching for a place to hide. The pain in my leg was excruciating, and I could feel warm blood soaking through my jeans. As I huddled in a dark corner of the kitchen, clutching a knife in my shaking hands, I heard the front door open. Slow, measured footsteps moved through the house. Come out, wherever you are," his voice sang softly. "The game isn't over yet." I closed my eyes, trying to control my ragged breathing. This couldn't be how it ended. It couldn't. In the distance, I heard more sirens, real ones this time. Was it possible? Could help really be on the way? The footsteps paused, and for a moment, there was only silence. The sound of breaking glass shattered the silence. Heavy footsteps thundered through the house. "Police, drop your weapon." I huddled deeper into my hiding spot in the kitchen, my heart pounding so hard I was sure they could hear it. The voices seemed to be coming from the living room. "Clear," I heard someone shout. Then, Jesus Christ, we've got a body here. My breath caught in my throat. Megan. Baker. Check upstairs. I'm going in further. a gruff voice commanded. I heard more footsteps. Slower this time, more cautious. They were getting closer to the kitchen. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out, followed by a cry of pain. It wasn't the police, it was him, the stalker. Officer down. Suspect is armed. Someone yelled. Chaos erupted, more gunshots. The sound of furniture being overturned, grunts of struggle. I pressed my hands over my ears, trying to block out the terrifying sounds. Then, 3 rapid shots in succession, followed by an eerie silence. Suspect is down. I repeat. Suspect is down. I held my breath, not daring to move. This is Roberts. We need 2 buses. 1 officer hit, suspect down, and we've got 2 civilian casualties. 2 casualties. Megan and Sophia. A sob escaped my throat before I could stop it. Wait, I heard something. Kitchen area. Proceed with caution. Footsteps approached slowly. The kitchen light flicked on. I squinted against the sudden brightness, raising my knife with a trembling hand. It's okay, a gentle voice said. You're safe now. I'm Officer Ramirez. Can you tell me your name? Tears of relief streamed down my face as I lowered the knife. Emily, I choked out. My name is Emily. It's been 6 months since that horrific night. 6 months since I lost my 2 best friends. 6 months since my life changed forever. The police told me later what happened. The real 911 operator had dispatched units to our location after Megan's call was cut short. They arrived just in time to save me, but too late for Megan and Sophia. Our stalker, as it turned out, was more disturbed than we could have imagined. His name was Robert Caldwell, a 34-year-old former IT specialist with a history of mental health issues and a string of stalking charges. The detectives shared his background with me, hoping it might help me understand. Not that understanding could ever ease the pain. Caldwell had been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia in his early 20s, but had stopped taking his medication years ago. He had a peculiar delusion that he could predict and control people's fates through elaborate games. His previous stalking charges involved young women who he believed were players in his twisted scenarios. What made him particularly dangerous was his technical expertise. He had worked for several high-profile tech companies before his mental health deteriorated, and he used these skills to hack into our phones and the delivery app. The voice messages were created using advanced voice-mimicking AI software. It was all so calculated, so terrifyingly methodical. The most chilling part was learning about his lair, a small apartment filled with surveillance equipment, computers, and walls covered in photos of potential players. We were just his latest victims in a long line of tormented women. The thought of how long he had been watching us, planning his game, still makes me sick to my stomach. Caldwell didn't survive that night. When the police cornered him in our house, he opened fire, injuring 1 officer before he was fatally shot. In a twisted way, his game ended with him as the final casualty. I visit the cemetery every week, laying flowers on Megan and Sophia's graves. Sometimes I talk to them, telling them about my day, my therapy progress, the way the world keeps turning, even though it feels like it should have stopped. I've grown close to their parents. We share a bond of grief that no one else can truly understand. We have dinner together once a month, sharing memories of the girls and supporting each other through the hard days. Sometimes, we talk about Caldwell, trying to make sense of the senseless, but mostly, we focus on remembering Megan and Sophia as they were. Vibrant, loving, full of life. My leg has healed, though I still walk with a slight limp. The physical therapist says it will improve with time. I'm not sure the same can be said for the scars on my soul. I've moved out of the house where it all happened. I couldn't bear to stay there, surrounded by memories and ghosts. My new apartment is small, but it's mine. A fresh start. With our degrees completed just before that fateful night, I found myself thrust into the real world we had all been joking about. But instead of the exciting career I had imagined, I've started working at a local cafe. It's not glamorous, but it's helping me heal in ways I never expected. There's a sense of normalcy in the daily routine, the smell of fresh coffee, the chatter of customers, the simple tasks that keep my hands and mind occupied. And then there's Daniel, my coworker. He's really sweet and kind, always ready with a gentle smile or a corny joke when he sees me struggling. He makes me feel safe in a way I haven't since that night. Daniel knows about my past. It was all over the local news, after all. But he's never pushed me to talk about it. Instead, he's just there. A steady, calming presence. Sometimes, when our eyes meet over the espresso machine, I feel a flutter in my chest that I thought I'd never feel again. I'm not ready for anything serious yet, but I hope that maybe, someday, something more might happen between us. The fear never really goes away. I still check my phone obsessively for strange messages. I still flinch at unexpected noises. I still can't order delivery without having a panic attack. But working at the cafe, being around people, especially Daniel, it's helping. Slowly but surely, I'm learning to live again. I'm here, I'm alive, and I'm determined to make my life count. For Megan and Sophia, for myself. If you're reading this, please remember to be careful. The world can be a dangerous place, full of monsters wearing human faces, but it's also full of beauty and love and friendship. Hold on to that, cherish it. And maybe, if you're ordering in tonight, consider cooking instead, or better yet, visit your local cafe. You never know who you might meet there.